Hello, darlings! Welcome to a new anime fashion analysis. You came here for it, you clicked for the content, so give it a like and call it a day. You know what this will be about. JoJo Bizarre Adventure, but only Phantom Blood fashion analysis. So, in the beginning of the story at 1967, we have data that all the events take place in the Victorian era. We can see petticoats, overcoats in a somber mode, also spotting a not so wealthy lady because of her dress not having enough buttocks. Then moving forward to 1980s and a 12-year-old JoJo, the accuracy of the kids' dressing is so beautiful. Just looking at Jonathan wearing countryside suits with long socks. There's some kids here and there wearing pants, but for boys, the use of shorts was mostly worn. Although in the late Victorian era, the navy fashion among kids was more popular, the accuracy on the boys is admirable. Since the use of short pants and socks was taken out of fashion after the French Revolution, along with all our Rococo French fashion, only kids were allowed to wear shorts with stockings, leaving men wearing the Revolution fashion suits. And on Erina's dress, we have another beautiful representation on what girls would wear. It has the accuracy in the anime. Kids' fashion and adult fashion was very different, but the girls' and the women clothing was the biggest fashion gap. Once Dio comes to the story, we can see the small difference with the boys. Dio wearing straps while Jonathan wearing a belt. Straps were seen as more formal since those pants had to be worn with the formal day wear, while belts were generally worn with the casual suits. Another detail is that most of the time, Dio wears hunting pants, on difference with Jonathan, separating the more snobbish and evil side of Dio in comparison with the nice free spirit Jonathan is. We can also see the use of robes that have been worn for many years but got very popular back in the Victorian era. But one of the historical inaccuracies is the female dresses. Although the fashion used in Phantom Blood is indeed Victorian era, sadly, it's the wrong decade. But who can blame Araki-sensei about that? Victorian era is a century long and had 6 major dress metamorphoses. Finding which dress belonged to which decade must have been a pain to search in the history books in the 1980s. The dress that Araki-sensei uses are from early Victorian era, very modest, simple and usually somber. And the dresses from the 1880s were smaller in the skirt, still modest, but with a lot more of frills. With many variations in colors between somber to pastel colors and nice fluffy butts. With the final ship dresses shown as the most elaborated, showing the difference from a day dress and an evening dress. I also have to mention the 1880s were the renaissance of sport, where the first sport clothing was created, bike riding being the most popular sport and also swimming. I love how the kids are wearing the kids' swimsuit. We can appreciate the historical accuracy more in the anime rather than the manga. There are a lot of historical pieces from the characters, but once Baron Sapelli is introduced to the story, the fashion in JoJo's starts losing its accuracy exponentially. Although Baron Sapelli does wear everything historically accurate, with totally formal evening attire, not a suit. We can see that because his bottom and coat matches. Usually on formal everyday wear, they have to mismatch. And on difference with the formal white tie tux that have to match, usually worn in the evenings or in this case by the nobles. And as the training continued, the first artistic liberty the creator made was the use of knitted vest and short sleeves, since they were not invented back then. But in the manga, you see them wearing them ever since the beginning. In the Victorian era, the only flexible garment was the fisherman's sweater. The knitting was invented by the Spanish sailor, and later the Irish sailor modified it into a more elaborated pattern. fishermen made their own working sweater clothing and passed the knowledge on to the next generations. Gansi family later invented traditional Gansi sweater and the family females starting a workshop for commercial purposes. Also, the vest could have been from crochet, a very popular hobby among the Victorian females. Sadly, I couldn't find a knitted vest from the Victorian era, but they were worn in the Edwardian era in the 1900s. A nice touch is the use of deer stalker hats to resemble a modern cap, making the fashion look so modern when most clothing is historically accurate. Sadly, by this point, the historical accuracy dies in the anime and it becomes Akira's couture inspired by the Victorian era. In the manga, we can see more liberties on clothing like JoJo's father wearing an elaborated sweater popular in the late 1980s and also in the 1990s. And again, the short sleeves shirts, t-shirts, and the popular preppy vests. In the story, the use of cloak is totally okay with the era, and men even wore guns and canes as accessories back then. But definitely, the gloves and handcuffs that were added created a nice hybrid of Victorian-inspired fashion. In the anime, the more we come to the climax of the arc, the use of armor, leotards, and more short sleeves were implemented. Nothing was drawn in the 1880s fashion anymore. But Seto Kaiba sure was there looking fabulous. The use of straps and neck cuffs used as shoulder pad armor is seen, with exaggerated shoulder pads in fashion in the 1980s. Even on the climax flashbacks, the accuracy is nowhere to be seen. We also see culturally inspired pants, belts, and short sleeves. By the end of part 1, Arena's wedding dress looks almost historically accurate to the Victorian dresses, but in the manga, it looks like a 1980s wedding dress all the way. Araki did hybrid the 80s time in the JoJo Bizarre Adventure Part 1. And if you want to learn something about JoJo's fashion, is that if you think you have enough accessories, being belts, gloves, scarves, or crowns, maybe you need to add one accessory more. Enough is not enough until it becomes too much. Like the video and comment what type of 1880s suit is your favorite style. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and see you on my next video.